with?
We work with some really great people in Active and outside. We've got some great people that give us feedback, and yeah, I mean the feedback comes in and it gets compiled and we just review it all.
Right.
And so specifically with this product, the feeling was, for the people that had interacted with some of the early prototypes of it, the feeling was that, within this area, making sure that your hand felt a little bit more comfortable.
Secured, yeah.
The first versions, we didn't have anything down here,
Right.
and it felt like, it could get away from you a little bit.
Right.
And then we added like a kind of a bulge at the end, and then, well, that was too much, and so
Right.
again, there was a lot of this like refinement that goes on, and yeah, like the feedback from the distributors, it's extremely valuable, because I think within the company, we're probably more likely to kind of, cheer ourselves on and whatever.
Right.
But you do get a different kind of quality of feedback from outsiders that they don't have any skin in the game, right? They say, oh, well, I don't like this actually, and you go, well, okay, thanks. How do we fix that? Yeah, so I don't think we got anything like that,
Right.
but there were certain elements that we really did think, oh wow, yeah, that's useful.
Also, one of the main changes that we did here is we've reduced the angle.
Yes.
So how did we come about to that conclusion?
I think it was just a matter of using the different guns,
Right.
and then working with kind of crude prototypes where we just adjust the angle and try it, and then
Just finding
just refining,
Right.
getting, nothing is a given, right? There's no, when you're developing something like from the ground up, you really should have the ability to say, we don't need to take anything as, a rule, right? At the beginning, you should have a bit of that freedom that, we know we want to set up some guidelines, and otherwise you end up with something silly, but for things like that, I mean, there's no reason that we need to be restricted on something like the angle. If we pick something up and go, oh, well, that's a bit weird. Why is that? Or the weight is tipped forward. Like, what can we do to correct that balance? And then that's the job, right?
So how did you approach creating a unique and recognizable design for the Active shotgun that differentiates it from the other guns in the market?
When I start the process of the first concepts, you do look around a lot, and you find those objects that are really kind of getting you excited in that moment, and then they start to find their way into what you're doing on the page, or then as you start to sculpt it on the computer as well, or in your first rough models and all of that, like it comes to life and you sort of follow it. We could really drill down and define like that quality feeling that we wanted, and if you look at the first sketches and the first models and prototypes, it doesn't look much different than this final production piece. But actually, the pixel pushing and millimeters shaving and adding here and there and angle adjustments, it actually went through quite a bit of that, and to get what we feel is a really like a well-balanced, nice feeling, very good functioning product.
Walk us through the design process of the Active shotgun from the early concept to the final product.
I think I did two like distinct concepts. The funny thing is that I remember at the start of this, it was kind of pitched as almost like a sprint. Like we to get something done quick. So, and then of course the development, it turned into a much longer process.
Right.
But I remember I'm sure I did 3 or 4 concepts to begin, and then I quickly refined them down to 2.
Yeah.
And then, and of course I share those along the way with, you know, whoever's interested. And then, yeah, we just sort of whittled that, you know,
Right.
into this direction, and then you just keep working away at it, and you find, oh, if I look at it from this side, if I hold it this way, if I pull the trigger like that, where is it feeling? And then
Right.
and then you load it with pressure water, right? Like now
And then it adds more.
Then it acts differently, right?
Right.
In your hand right now, there's nothing really happening, but
Right. When it's
but
in
when
action.
when it's in action now, whoa, it's kicking back in a way
Right.
that you don't always expect.
And I've
So-
tried this in action. It's really powerful. Actually.
Yeah,
Super strong.
So you realize, okay, and that's when details like the soft elements on the top, you know,
Because now they could.
they
hold
come
on
into
to
play.
something.
Yeah, because it's you can do this for a little bit, but eventually you need to.
Right.
You got to give yourself a break.
How did we ensure that the active short gun would have an ergonomic feel in handling?
So yeah, like we developed many prototypes,
Right.
and we just started using them, and we would use them. We would get other people to use them, people in the industry, people not in the industry,
Right.
different sizes of hand, and just once you sort of gather this, like all of these data points, they start to point in one direction, and you keep refining and refining. So if it's the angle, if it's the texture, if it's how far you need to reach for the trigger to pull it back, the feeling of the trigger, the click, the all of that gets refined to a degree that, I mean, you could go on forever, but at some point we say, okay, I think we've hit that balance right now where it's working for everybody, and yeah, you find the next problem and attack it.
Awesome. And lastly, can you share any challenges during the design process, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question, because when you look at something in the end, you can, like, I don't look at products and go, oh, well, I would change this or change that, because I know every step we took along the way. And each of them had its own reason. So the challenges they're always there, and they're most typically to do with the manufacturing. So, you know, what I always like to find the limits of the manufacturing partner that we have and say, okay, well, what if we tried this? What could we do here? Because you always want to sort of get the most out of everyone, and so the challenges, there was probably a 1,000 little ones along the way that you know.
And then those little ones makes a whole lot.
Yeah. So I mean, looking at it now, you know, like there were issues with the texture.
Right.
If you look closely, it's glossy in the middle of these sort of panels, if you will, and then even like how nicely the seam closes up at the top. They're difficult things to achieve, and you're always very happy when the people you're working with are there with you, and you know, trying to get those things done to the standard that, you know, you expect, and it's great. And I think this is an example of that, where they really they did a nice job.
Right.
Closing it all off. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed our insights with JC here. So looking forward to launch the product, and we'll see you soon.